I am here with the jury, the pre-jurors, some alumni, and Rai Rai to find out who will be the final house guest evicted and question the final two now on Big Brother Cheesecake 6 Hockey Sticks. Hello, I'm Andrew Shevsik Moonves. Welcome to Big Brother Cheesecake 6 Hockey Sticks. It's day 83 inside the Big Brother Cheesecake 6 house, and we are down to the final two. But the jurors don't yet know who that is. They know Corey is one of them because he won head of household, and he must either evict Karen or Steven. So Kat wanted to join us this evening, but she was volunteering at a homeless shelter as part of her plea bargain for a 2018 assault on a Costco employee who refused to put caramel at the top and bottom of her sundae. And who they want to see evicted. We'll start with Rhonda.
Who I think is evicted is Steven. I don't want to see Karen evicted. But I don't know. That's what I think.
Okay. Hearn?
I think Karen's going to get evicted because it would be like common sense not to. I think she's been called out from day one as like a big threat, and to take it to the end like is just throwing it back in our faces. Like we've given you plenty of warning, but honestly, I don't care which one of them gets evicted. Like I didn't win, so it's not.
Okay. Andrew.
Sorry, I disconnected.
Okay. Who do you think is evicted, and who do you want to see evicted?
I think Karen's evicted. I want to see Steven evicted.
Okay. Amethyst?
It's hard. It could be a toss between either of them. I kind of hope that Karen was evicted, only because I think Corey would stand a little bit of a better chance next to Steven. But I mean, I think it's going to be they're almost equals.
Okay. To the pre-jurors, Amy. Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry. Who do I want to see evicted?
Yes.
The one I wanted to see evicted is Karen.
Okay. And who do you think?
I don't care.
Okay. Brazil.
What? Who do I want to see?
Yes. Oh, I'm assuming.
I think Karen deserves it a little bit more than Steven, but I think the smarter move for Corey would be to evict Steven.
Okay. Nicole?
Well, I'm team Corey, so if I wanted Corey to win, I would want him next to Steven.
Okay.
But I don't think that's what happened.
Okay. And would you like to say why, or you're pleading the fifth?
I'm pleading the fifth.
Okay. Curtis?
I don't have any wants. I could see it going either way as well. It sounds like it's a toss-up. Going to be a tough finish for Corey regardless. I'm going to guess that he cut Steven, though, and brought Karen to the final two.
Okay. Brooke, if you can hear me, who do you think is the final juror, and who do you want to be the final juror?
I think Steven's the final juror, and I want Steven to be the final juror.
Okay, and I saved the best for last, Rai.
I think, I mean, you know, I think that Cheesecake being a reflection of our society, I think this game has been dominated by women for too long. You know, it would be nice to finally get a man to win this game. So, you know, just from a representation thing, like I'd like to be able to look at Cheesecake and say, that's a person who looks like me, you know? And I think it would be important for a man to win. So I'm going to say that Karen was evicted and that Steven was brought along to the finals, because it's important again to have that representation and have just two strong male characters get to the end.
Are you saying Jeffrey and JoJo are not men?
You're saying that, I believe. If I'm not mistaken, that's what you were saying.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Okay. Love that.
Maybe you forgot JoJo won last season.
No, I don't. I didn't forget that JoJo won. I just forget that last season happened. As soon as I was evicted, that season was over. Like effectively, from a viewership standpoint, no one gave a shit anymore. They were like, "Oh, Ryan's gone. Why bother?" So JoJo taking home some sort of empty crown just didn't mean anything.
Okay. So before Ryan admits the third place person who was evicted.
We time out for a second. Caitlyn's trying to get on and she's having problems.
I was also going to say that.
I just see her and I were so just making.
I was literally about to say, but I didn't want to interrupt Andrew with his like little flow
I
of
don't
like
care.
being.
Oh yeah, whatever. I resent her the link again. Is there a password though, Ryan? If I give her the meeting number, it's just type in that.
Be.
Okay, thank you.
That invite link should bring her in. But I know Andrew said he had to update his Zoom, so.
Before we admit the last person, I do want to say so that even though this time we're not having the roundtable on International Women's Day, let's refrain from using the C word and instead use words like bully, big meanie, bitch, washed up warlock, drugged up doucheweed, and cocked up whorebag. Okay.
I feel like bitch is on the same level as C word, but okay.
It is?
That's only because you're British.
Oh. No, I think C word is like, I don't know. I use that word every single day, so I don't know. It wasn't offensive to
exactly.
me.
Yeah,
I do too. I use it a lot. Yeah.
Anyway, Ryan, do you know who's in third, or are you going to pull the wrong person in? Do I have to message you?
Well, yes, please message me.
God, okay.
Only guys can be cunts today. How about that?
Okay.
Is that because they're flexible and able to adapt to their surroundings?
The third place person who Corey evicted is...
Joining.
Hey.
Oh, I love the look on Nicole's face.
Why are you guys shocked?
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
No.
Oh my god, I'm shocked, actually.
I'm thrilled to be here. How is everyone?
Actually, I'm gonna cry. Hold on, I gotta turn my camera back off. I'm gonna cry.
Oh. Hi, Karen.
Hey.
Yes, Corey.
I told you
evicted.
I was better to go over Corey. I told you.
So Corey evicted Karen. And it was a big surprise after the episode today. Today's episode, it hasn't aired yet because I wanted the surprise. But because you're going to see it anyway before you vote, Stephen did ask Corey to evict him. And Corey said no. Evicted Karen. That's the short version of it. It went on for quite a while last night, but that's the short version of it. So now, Ryan, you can bring in Stephen, who is also in the final two with Corey.
Oh.
So when's that? I can't wait to see what he's dressed as. Oh my God.
I know.
Maybe just himself. Who knows?
Okay. Congratulations, Corey and Stephen, for making it to the final two. Tomorrow, the house guests will be casting their votes for the winner of Big Brother Cheesecake 6 hockey sticks. You will have the opportunity now to provide an opening statement of up to 10 minutes as to why you deserve to win. Each of the jurors will then have an opportunity to either ask a question or make a comment to either of you or both of you. And then you will have an opportunity to make a closing statement of up to 5 minutes. I was asked by one of the final three if there was an official jury roundtable. This is kind of it, but I have a feeling, just like in previous seasons, well, not All Stars, because that just shut down after this, but in previous seasons to that, the jury chatted till like 2 a.m, usually the night before, which like Sunday night, as to what the hell they should do. So you will all have the opportunity, well, the jury will have the opportunity to chit chat about it. Okay, so Corey, you won the final head of household competition, and one additional perk is you get to choose whether you or Stephen will speak first in their opening statements.
Can I go last?
Yes. So, Stephen.
I'm having a hard time right now.
Okay. Stephen, you may begin.
All right, let me open up the NHL 22. No, I'm kidding. I actually prepared a speech for this. So I started watching Big Brother when I was 6 with my mom. I grew up on Dr. Will, the Four Horsemen, the Sovereign Six, Evil Dick and Danielle. And I rooted for them growing up because they kept things interesting. They thought outside of the box. They did ridiculous things that were not only entertaining, but they were strategic. And to be honest with you, I was jealous of them because I thought that I could never be them. I was a goody two-shoes, and I didn't think that I had what it took to rebel. In my first year of college, I joined my first few online reality games, and I dedicated all of my time to them, and I played a very social game both times, and I finished 6th both times. From the host perspectives, my downfall was that I was too likable and I couldn't manage my relationships, and that I did what was best for everyone else and never for myself. I didn't want to make tough decisions and hurt people. So at that point, I thought I was better at just being a fan, and I was fine with that. 3 years later, I get a message from Karen about Big Brother Cheesecake. She says that she thought I'd be good in it, so I signed up. When this game started, I was juggling 3 jobs, and I was a full-time student. I was also coming off of a flu, and to be honest with you, I felt like I was drowning. I thought that I was going to let myself down if I didn't play the social game that I was known for, and that I was just going to be a waste of a spot. I kept telling myself in week 1, I'll just make more time tomorrow for Big Brother Cheesecake, but I knew with my life, I couldn't keep up with that promise. But then something amazing happens. I pop up in the middle of the Soda Pop Power of Veto challenge, and I say, hello, I'm alive, yada, yada, yada. And I didn't know that a veto was even happening at that point. Karen messages me on the side. She's laughing her ass off. And that's when I realized something. I didn't have to play the game that classic Steven would play. I could do something different, and I could use it to my advantage and my allies' advantage. I could be the Dr. Will, the Four Horsemen, the Sovereign Six. I could be entertaining, strategic, and play outside the box. I could make my 6-year-old self proud, and I could make the best of my time constraints and play a winning game. So after coming out of nowhere and embarrassing myself during Soda Pop, I decided that I was going to make this my identity. I was going to make people question if I was even in the game while making myself exclusive to a few people to gain their trust. And this is where the whole aloof goof or evil mastermind, as Andrew put it, began. So I'd put my Big Brother Cheesecake story into chapters. And chapter 1 started by talking to alumni, in particular, Jonathan Oliveira. Jonathan said this game is unlike any other and encouraged flashy and bold moves. And I also learned from Jonathan how to prepare for competitions from beginning to end. He was an alumni. He had influence over the alumni vote. He finished in the end game in both seasons. He amassed a huge following of friends from the alumni. My first true ally in this game was Jonathan. His experience in playing twice really helped me, and that's where my social game actually began. My second true ally in this game, unsurprisingly to anybody, was Karen. Karen was my final 2 in this game from the beginning to the end. I didn't know if I'd be playing with or against Karen in the beginning, but she showed me early on that I could trust her. When I was drowning in week 1, she told me about Amethyst and how she was extremely likable and how she understood the game. She told me about Brooke, her life story, some challenges she faced and how she's a fighter, and it made me want to root for her. Karen told me that she liked Caitlyn and how we'd get along because we're both sassy and sarcastic. She would tell me about Jit and how he was loyal to a fault, about Hearn and how we had mutual friends and mutual org groups, which led us to believe that he was extremely strategic and he could be onto us like that. About how Joe and I would bond over sports, or how Andrew could be a key player because he was eager to form a strong alliance from the get-go and wouldn't hesitate to make big moves. Karen was a huge part of my social game because she kept our options socially and strategically. So I could take the big risks and close deals when we needed to move forward in private. I made key relationships at the right time that mutually benefited our position, and it made them more meaningful. Karen connected me with Caitlyn in week 2, and we hit it off right away in our 3-person alliance. I never talked anywhere else in those first 3 weeks except in our alliance chat to make sure that Caitlyn knew that she was special to me because she was. She was my other ride or die at that point. She was the only other person in the game that I looked to do every little thing with to make everybody else think that I was an airhead while Caitlyn laughed in private. I showed up or didn't show up to competitions on purpose. I posted dumb things in the main chat and then disappeared, and it was all to make Caitlyn laugh, and she loved it. And to me, that made me feel like Caitlyn could trust me and I could trust Caitlyn. I also knew that Caitlyn was close to Jonah. And Jonah, at that point, was the most social player in the game. He had ties with everybody. And I thought that if I had a strong relationship with Caitlyn, I could focus my time on other people and that she could connect me to Jonah if need be. I didn't need to talk to Jonah as much because of that. The other person that I made a bond with early on was Brooke, because she was the only other person at that point who had a special veto power other than me and allowed me to instantly connect with her when she was on the block and I threw the veto. so she could keep her Sapphire veto. From Brooke's reactions, I could tell instantly that she would be a good ally, and I dropped my character for her as well. We had 2 powers in the game. We could stick together and keep each other safe with Karen. I liked having the connections with Caitlyn, Karen, and Brooke because I could focus on my real life and stay up to date in the game with the people I liked. By the end of round 3, people thought I was inactive, but I made 3 really strong connections and 2 really important alliances in this game and a strong alumni connection to help influence the alumni vote if needed. This is also the beginning of the next chapter of my game, which I call my villain origin story, because I won HOH in round 4. People started throwing names out to me subtly. I remember Jonah throwing Karen under the bus well before he knew that Karen and I knew each other. And everybody was also paranoid coming off of Jonah's HOH reign. So I decided to do what Jonathan suggested and made a bold, flashy move. The first of many 20-minute videos happened, and it panicked and annoyed the house, and I loved it because Karen, Caitlyn, and Brooke were in on it. I told them not to worry, even if people were mad. Brooke wanted to defend me, and I told her, don't defend me. You don't need to. It's okay. Let them be mad at me. I asked the house for nominees that round, and to be honest with you, my plan was always to nominate Rhonda and Judy. Andrew was actually the only person who sent nominees, so I got insight into Andrew's game, and I used that information he gave me later to further divide the house during Rhonda's HOH. The one lie that I kept from the beginning to the end is that 5 people submitted nominations. No, it was only 1 person. Finally, I just kind of enjoyed doing it because it reminded me that I could have fun playing the game. I could not be myself. I could think outside the box. I got to be the Dr. Will saying, I hate you all, or Evil Dick clanging pots and pans. It was entertaining for the house guests who were in on the act, for host Andrew, for myself. I came off as an awful player on purpose, who wouldn't take the time of day to talk to anybody and yet make 20-minute videos rambling about nothing. And I wanted to make people annoyed at me because why would you ever vote someone out who annoyed everybody? And I'm still here. So I kept pushing people's buttons. I do little small things like call Caitlyn in the main chat while picking her for veto and pretending not to know her. I made a fake hangman game about cheese. I just did ridiculous things, but all the while it was with the purpose of making the people that I was aligned with feel like I was committing to them fully and I had nowhere else to go. My allies' influence on the game benefited me 2 weeks later when I lost HOH. My Emerald Power veto failed and I lost the veto. Host Andrew said it was the unluckiest week of any contestant in Big Brother Cheesecake history. The anti-Steven alliance formed to eliminate me. I should have been evicted, but Brooke didn't want me to go and Caitlyn didn't want me to go. Their strong relationships with Jonah pushed him to keep me in the game. I made a deal with Amethyst that I would never nominate her and cause chaos in the game around everyone in exchange for her vote. And Amethyst, I want to let you know right now, genuinely did want to build a relationship with you. Karen talked you up. You sounded amazing. And she did trust you a lot. But the Savers being exposed by her and Rhonda and Corey the next round changed the direction of my game before I had the chance to build that connection. My relationship with Jonathan and the character that I built up for the game rallied the alumni for me to stay. And I worked quietly on the alumni vote while Karen, Caitlyn, and Brooke fought like hell for me to stay. I didn't participate in that HOH, so Salaby had no reason to use his advantage against me after all the work that he did to take me out. And so I stayed. If I had not made those very close connections with Brooke and Caitlyn while seemingly ignoring everyone else in the game, I don't think I would have stayed. Karen's HOH the next round started with Karen learning from Hearn the name of the Savers and the number of people in it, and Rhonda told me about the Alliance. The fact that my closest allies within the Alliance of 7 saved me and the relationships made the relationships that I built much more rewarding. But I was genuinely hurt that Caitlyn and Brooke never told me that there was a big alliance when the goal was to eliminate a small handful of people outside that alliance, including me, or so I thought. I thought that I had built enough trust with them that they knew that I would protect them and never expose them to any of the ridiculous antics that I did. And it felt to Karen and I at that time that we might have been a part of their games, but they were letting us in on they weren't letting us in on our plans. We were at risk of being dragged with no knowledge of really what was happening. This is where we decided to do something bold and flashy and take Jonathan's advice again. And I was going to align with Rhonda, who was hatching a plan to evict me around before, and Corey. Pardon?
You have 1 minute remaining.
Oh, well, and then Corey, who made a parody video to my 20-minute video. Ron and I talked first before Deal or No Deal. We thought it was going to be a brief 5 to 10 minute call. It lasted 57 minutes. And because of our chemistry, I took a gamble and we are where we are now. I knew that Salaby was close with Rhonda at the time, and Rhonda would still feel comfortable with our arrangement. And so Mbop was formed, and I stuck to it throughout the rest of the game. Through the entire of my game, none of my alliances failed. I knew what the vote was going to be every round, and I was never blindsided. I focused on the social aspects of my game in this speech because I think Corey brought me to the final two because I think that he thinks that I played a really weak social game. I think he underestimates that part. And I hope that I've explained how strategic and social my game was, because every single move that I made was not just to annoy people and throw people under the bus and lie and make people mad or upset. It was to strategically advance me and my allies and give us the best opportunity possible to advance to the point where we are now, which is now me being in the finals.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. Corey, you're up next.
Oh, great. It's hard to follow that up. So hi, everyone. When I signed up for this, I really didn't know what to expect. I had never played an org before. All I knew was what I had watched from Big Brother. So coming in right away, I kind of had that hope that I think everyone's gonna have, where it's, you come in, you hope you're gonna win some comps, make some big moves right away, make alliances, find a final two, what everyone expects. When I got in, I made some relationships right away. The first thing I did was to make sure that I was as social as possible in the main Cheesecake chat. I was posting every day to let people know I was out there. I think that helped me make some quick connections with people that led to private messages with, I'm sure I had private messages with everyone at some point in the game, where we talked more than just game. We talked about life, we talked about our relationships, we talked about TV shows or The Simpsons, or just we would bullshit. And it was stuff like that that I had to rely on. It became increasingly obvious in the early part of the game that competitions weren't going to be my thing. I would come close, but close doesn't matter. I was expecting to be winning competitions. So the fact that I had to rely on my social game is not something I was expecting. It was week to week having to adjust my game because I didn't win again. I never had power. So I had to work on my relationships to make sure I was in a position where I had a good idea of what was going on that week. My relationships led to me being in the Savers early on. In the end, that didn't work out for me, but it kept me safe and on the right side of votes early on. When the Savers didn't work out, I had to adjust again. I had to find another group of people I could join up with. The other thing that helped me is I had a really strong ride or die with Rhonda. I really couldn't have done or gotten as far as I did without her. We really relied on each other, and Rhonda's HOH was pivotal to me because that opened up her dialogue with Stephen. So after Stephen stayed and Karen and Stephen had learned about the Savers, they started talking to us, which opened up another potential move for me to stay longer in the game. Basically, the biggest thing I'm saying is that my relationships with people is the biggest thing that helped me move to where I was in the game. I never thought I'd make Funnel 2. My biggest thing is I didn't want to be evicted first, and I hope I made jury. I didn't see myself in this position. And honestly, every one of you helped me get here because I had strong relationships with everyone. And I'm here today because of that. That's about all I have to say for my opening.
Okay, thank you, Corey. So now, jurors, you will each have a chance to address the final two with one comment or question. And we will begin with, does anybody need to go first because of work? Or are we okay? Okay, I figured. So Brooke, I'm gonna let you go first.
Does she know she's, oh, there she goes.
Yeah, she's
All right,
probably going back to yeah.
Yeah, I just ran back to the top room.
Okay.
The trooper.
Okay. So do we ask each of them a question or just one of them?
You can either ask them each a different question or you can ask one question to both of them.
Okay, my first question will be to Steven. Steven, do you regret now not keeping me, considering you know I would have took Karen to the final 2 over you?
Can you repeat the question quickly? Sorry.
Do you regret not keeping me, because you would have known that I would have took Karen to the final 2? So you just said you wanted her to stay, right? You told Corey to evict you. You know I would have took Karen to the final 2. So do you regret now not keeping me?
My answer to that is yes and no, and I know that's a very in between, but there's 2 reasons. On one hand, I've said this, I do think Karen was one of the best players of this season. And if I were going to win the season, I'd want to sit against somebody who was, the best. And Corey is up there too, but I think everybody would agree that Karen is the narrator based on their extra whips and whatnot. And Karen was my final 2. I would have loved to see her here as well. That being said, I did make a strong alliance with Rhonda and Corey, and much like you, I became close friends with Rhonda and Corey as well. So at that point, I felt like no matter what I did, I was going to wind up burning people. And that was tough. I have thought today actually about, I could have kept Brooke at the final, final 6. And part of me regrets it, but part of me is also proud that I stayed loyal to the promise that I made with Rhonda and Corey. It's very bittersweet.
Okay, and Corey, one question quickly for you is, how come when the Savers got exposed, you let me take all the heat on my own when it was you and I who created it?
Well, when it comes to the Sabers, yes, you came to me that it was our idea, but all along I knew about your guys's alliance, what was it called? The Just Us. And I knew Jonah was making the moves behind the scenes, because when you came to me, Jonah was telling me, hey, Brooke's gonna come to you with this offer, go with it. We're making the Sabers. We're making an alliance that's gonna run the house. So as much as you think I let you take the fall for it, everyone did. I didn't mean to let you take the fall for it, but I knew that there was the prior alliance, and that you coming to me wasn't really us making it. It was a pre-made plan.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Good luck. So proud of you both.
Okay, thank you,
Bye,
Brooke.
Bye. Sorry, go bye, guys.
That's
Thank
okay.
you.
No worries. Does anybody else want to go so that they have to leave, or can we go in order from this point? Looks like we're good. Okay, so Amethyst, you are up next.
So congratulations to you both. You both played an awesome game. And when I heard that I was going to be on the jury, obviously I started analyzing things, because up until this point, I kind of left everything aloof. I was paying attention to what was going on, but I wasn't involved with it all. So I started looking back on both of your games, and honestly, I'm impressed with both of them. My question to each of you is, the week that I went home was the last time someone was going to be evicted before they became a juror. So obviously I shouldn't be sitting here, but I am. If I hadn't asked to go, what would each of your votes had been?
Do you want me to start?
Sure.
Unfortunately, I'm gonna be honest and own up to a lot of things. A big part of my game is I was pivotal to sorry, I'm super nervous right now.
Understandably.
When it came to a lot of the votes, I will say there was a plan because of the veto you held. no one wanted to be caught beside it, because anyone knew that any veto, two people could come down and anyone could be a replacement. So there unfortunately there was a target on you that week, and I'm sorry to say it, but I'm just speaking the truth. As I'm not trying to hide any, I'm not trying to tell people I had a clean game, because I did some dirty things in this game, and there's some things I'm not proud of, but
No, I appreciate
honestly,
that.
that's what it
I'd rather
is.
hear the honesty. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So as I mentioned before, I would have loved to work with you. Karen gassed you up to me. And to me, I think that you, from what I understood, you were an extremely social, likable player, similar to Caitlyn. And that's a dangerous thing to have in this game. I did make a promise to you. I did want to fulfill that promise. I know there was never a part of the promise that said that I would never vote to evict you. Had that been there, I would have honored that. However, with your veto and the fact that Karen kept talking to you and kind of bringing up the Sabres and that you never fully admitted it, told me that you had your loyalties and you were going to play loyal to a fault. And that if you weren't going to play loyal to a fault with Karen, that I didn't think that you were going to play loyal to a fault with me. Now, no doubt about it, I would have rather had Jonah out. Jonah had his hands in all the cookie jars. But at that point also, I was trying to build trust with Rhonda and Corey. And I didn't know how the vote was actually going to turn out. I didn't know that it was going to be so lopsided. So I had to stay steadfast on that vote the way it was.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Amethyst, you're good? Or is there anything else? I know you asked
Yeah,
your question, but if you have anything else, you're good?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks.
Okay. We're going to move on to Caitlyn, who just messaged me that she's not going to be able to unmute without baby in the background, and he's not happy. So her question is, tell me why I specifically, so I guess she means why Caitlyn, not why the jury, why Caitlyn should vote for you to win. Corey went first last time, so we'll go Stephen on this one.
Okay. Why you should specifically vote for me to win is because, and I was going to kind of get into this in my closing statements, but I can kind of get into it now. The winner of the season is going to be the person who's the representative of our season for the entire series of Big Brother Cheesecake. I think that it should be the person who played the best and boldest game, because if we look at the history books of Big Brother, the people who are seen as the icons and the all-stars are those people. We go back, and I mentioned them in my opening.
Sorry, Stephen, I hate to interrupt, but Andrew did give me permission to do so. If you think that they should be voting for the best person, why is that not Karen? Because from what I'm reading, from what I'm hearing, you've said yourself that Karen was the best player of the season.
I said
so. They're asking why we should vote for you,
yeah,
and not the best player of the season, who's Karen.
Well,
right?
I mean, we can't vote for Karen, so I mean,
yeah, number one. No, yeah,
no, I know,
one,
but if you're asking,
hold on.
if the logic doesn't work out there.
No, I think my logic does work out here, because I'm not saying that, I'm saying that Karen deserves to be here. Karen is one of the best players of the season. If I wanted to be in the final two, I would want to be against Karen, because number one, she was my ally, and number two, that at the same time, again, if I'm going to be the best, I would want to beat the best. And I think that Karen is the number one competition. If Karen, I consider myself just up there with Karen as well, because I did, like Karen and I worked in tandem. I made bold, strategic, flashy moves. I broke the record in Big Brother Cheesecake for competitions with 8. I played a strong social game that was unique and outside of the box with time constraints. And I know everybody talked about, Andrew gassed the game up to say, oh, it's not going to take that much time. It does take a lot of time. It takes a lot of time out of your life. And I optimized my time in this game. I think that I proved that you don't need to play the textbook cookie cutter method of Big Brother to win the game and be the best. I'm saying that I want Karen to be here because I think Karen's one of the best players. I don't think necessarily that Karen would win, because if Karen was in the spot, I'd be fighting just as hard as I am against Corey.
Okay. And just, sorry, Ryan, I meant like after they finished their
you said during questioning, feel free to
I know,
interrupt.
I screwed up. It's my fault. I meant like after they finished like their statement. I apologize.
Can I just add one more thing here too?
Yes.
I started the game as an invisible. I also started my game outside of any major majority alliance. And through my will of breaking down the competitions, through my ability to pivot from alliances, I was always on the inside of every single vote. I never had an alliance breakup. I never had an alliance fail unless I decided it was time to move on.
Okay. Corey, why should Caitlyn vote for you?
Well, hi, Caitlyn. I hope you can hear this. Early on, we had a really strong dialogue. We did make a pretty close, tight bond. I know in week 2, when you had to find a replacement, you came to me and said, look, this is what I'm trying to do. I think I might have to put you up. And we talked, like, I think we might've talked for like almost an hour that night. And I didn't instantly, just shoot you down. I had a conversation with you. And I think from that, it really created a bond between us. It helped us with the creation of the Sabers. Even though stuff didn't go well there, I still tried to keep in touch with you to try and talk with you to see how everything was going. I know we've had some good personal talks about what was going on with your life at the time. And then like that's all I had to rely on was social and speaking with people. And then in the end, when I finally did pull out a win, to do so, I'm sorry, I'm saying so much. I'm absolutely nervous. I didn't expect to be here, and to win that final HOH, I had to beat the 2 biggest competitors in the game. And in the end, I don't know if I made the right decision, but I made the decision that I thought was best by getting rid of who I thought, and with what the extra whips were showing, that everyone else thought was probably the strongest person in the game, to give myself the best chance I had. It was not something I took lightly, and it wasn't easy to do, but that's all I can say is that's what I had to do to try and convince people.
Okay, thank you. And we are going to move on now to Andrew.
First of all, good job to both of you to make it into final 2. I'll have a comment for Corey and a question for Steven. Corey, you played one of the cleanest games, at least in my experience, that I've ever seen out of all the candidates. Anytime you ever spoke, you always kept it 100. Complete honesty, which, that was part of my game. So I really do appreciate that. Also, knowing what it's like to work in the construction field, you were very active for someone that was very busy. So good on you, brother. And I'm happy you were able to break the number 2 pun. Good for you, man. I'm happy. Steven, my man. Okay, so first of all, I want to get this out of the way, man. I think when it came to you and on the block there, I think Karen really did the work for you. She was your trump card, brother. But after that, I really loved the dialogue we had, the competition going back and forth. I think it made great entertainment. I hated you on screen, but I loved you off screen. You know what I mean? But again, I was playing the honest game, and my name is Anti-Steven. So I need to ask you, brother, why should I change my name to Pro Steven?
I love the question, my friend. I will say this. Karen doing the headwork in the game to keep me to stay, completely intentional, because I had the persona. I had the persona that I was aloof, that I was here, that I wasn't here, you know what I mean? And I didn't want to seem desperate, because if I started seeming desperate, then I think people may have started to flip the switch and say, hey, this isn't this guy's character at this point in the game. So I needed Karen, because she had the social connections to do what she had to do. I needed to stay quiet, especially because I was afraid of you. I was afraid of your powers, because if you use those powers, I thought that I was a goner. with all intents and purposes. You're right. I didn't play the loyal game. I didn't play the trustworthy game, and I didn't play it with you. I played it with certain people at certain aspects in the game. I tried to keep my options open, and the option with you just never came to be. You were never really my target until the final 7, after you pulled that impressive vote against Caitlyn, because to me, that was like, there's your winner right there. Why should you be pro Steven here and not anti Steven? I think because at the end of the day, I think that, as I said, I played an unconventional game. I don't think I was a hero by any definition of the book. I don't think that I was the most trustworthy, but I think I was trustworthy at the right times with the right people to gain the trust, to help me gain the numbers and gain the advantages in my favor to move forward. I always saw it as that. I knew that I couldn't play all sides of the house because people who, in my opinion, played all sides of the house, with all due respect to them, kind of wound up getting burned. I played a very one-sided, this is my shot, this is where my chips are falling kind of game. But I also kind of took advantage of the game by breaking down the challenges. You kept saying that I was a mastermind at breaking down these challenges and winning these challenges because I kept trying to cut options off from people. I never knew if Corey and Rhonda were going to be completely loyal to us. We learned at the end that they were, but to cut down their options little by little, to, cause paranoia in the house, to break the trust and bonds of everybody else, to benefit myself and my allies, in particular Karen, and then also later on in the game, Corey and Rhonda, as well as Caitlyn and Brooke at certain points in the game. Extremely important. It may not seem it, but ironically, I worked my ass off for this game. And I know you appreciate hard work.
Got it. I did. And again, lovely game. Appreciated watching you in action. Your most impressive feat for me was when you hosted while Andrew's internet was down. That was funny.
Day 51.
Okay, Andrew, I'm good.
Okay. We move on to Hearn, the hot British blonde boy.
As voted by the players, not by myself.
Yes.
Just make it clear. Okay, so I'm going to say things a little bit differently. I'm going to give a statement to both of you, then you both have a question. So Stephen, I'll start with you. I think it's quite funny that you kind of mentioned Dr. Will and the Sovereign Six and like Deacon Dunyato, because those are like iconic players. And to me, you appeared more of a character and as a parody of those players. You kind of lacked the essence of those players. You kind of made the big moves without really getting to know people. And I think a lot of the time, to me at least, you appeared kind of aloof and also very arrogant. I think I don't really see you as a player and more as a roadblock to me moving forward. Whenever I had to deal with you, it was always through Karen or through some other means. So I don't see you as that kind of player. And that's just my personal opinion because that's how you've interacted with me. So I'll leave you to the side for now, then I'll get to my question. Corey, you are kind of the same way, as in like, I don't see you as a separate player. I see you as Corey and Rhonda, and I can't vote for Rhonda, so I'm quite left disappointed. So my question to both of you, if the double eviction happened the first round and Karen and Rhonda were evicted, how would your games have changed? And would you still have managed to reproduce the strategy that you did to get to this final 2 position?
Wait, so to be clear, your question is if Karen and Rhonda went in the double instead of you and Brooke? So the final 4
if Magical Alternative Universe, first round, you say, we'll have a double eviction.
Okay.
Karen and Rhonda go.
Okay.
Do you think you guys would have made it to the end? And if so, what would have been the strategy?
Okay, got it.
Who's going first?
I'll start. So Hearn, you're talking like very first week in the house?
Yeah, take out Rhonda.
And
Rhonda
Karen
doesn't exist.
completely?
Rhonda never happened. You have to play as your own separate person.
So I mentioned that I had to adjust in the game. Week 1, I was in an alliance with Rhonda, Amy, W, and Meg and myself. So week 1, Meg leaves. So right away, we lose a number. Then I had to adjust. So it's the 3 of us, and I started to get really close with Jonah. So if Rhonda wasn't there, it would just be finding another way to adjust. So if I didn't have Rhonda, I would have had Amy. It probably would have been me, Amy, and Meg. Meg would have left. I would have been trying to find other people to make at least an alliance of 4. So in the early game, I was getting to know and talk personally with people as much as possible. I made a lot of relationships with people, and I didn't use Rhonda for making my relationships. I talked with people one-on-one personally a lot. And so it would have just been trying to focus on that to find more numbers to keep moving forward in the game. As I know I relied a lot on Rhonda, but for my personal one-on-ones with people, it's one thing I didn't rely on her for. It was something that I could use myself, and I tried to use that to my full advantage to the whole game.
Cool.
All right. So I would say, first of all, that I completely understand where you're coming from. I could see how you could see me as a character and more of a roadblock to help you propel further than a big player, because you and I were never really on the same side of the coin. And to be quite frankly, I never really had a social relationship with you in the game. I had very brief conversations. I know we kind of got along-ish, but there was nothing there. There was no substance. You're absolutely right. If Karen was not in this game, everything would have had to have been different, because as I did the things that I did, people would give reactions. I knew how close and connected Karen was to everybody in the game. And Karen would relay all the information of what was happening back to me so that I can make the next big, dumb move to continue building the trust with the small alliances that I had, making them feel like that I had nowhere else to go and that I was locked in with them, to help propel myself forward, but also making myself annoying or whatever to ultimately, be somebody who was enticing to bring to the end. Had Karen not been here, I'd have to play the entire game differently. I'd have to go back to the social strategies that I had before. And I know that you can attest to this because we didn't really have that, and I never really had that game with you. But I know that Corey could attest to this, Rhonda could attest to this, Brooke and Caitlyn at certain points in the game could attest to this. I can play a strong social game. I am sociable. I can make people like me and trust me. And I would have had to have done that. I would have had to play the complete opposite game that I played in this game had it not been Karen. And do I think that I could have done it? Absolutely, because the things that I would have done is look for the people who weren't as active. Because usually in the main chat, when people are talking and people are sharing stories, if people are left out, those are the people that you kind of want to scoop up. I would look at you at certain points because sometimes you weren't as active. I know Salaby at certain times wasn't as active, and I know Brooke at times wasn't as active. I also knew that if I had a power, that I had to look with people with other powers in the game and use those as bargaining chips to say, hey, we're targets because of this. We have to work together and we have to align together because of this. It's actually something that I did try to do with Brooke to help kind of bridge that gap in that situation. That situation never did happen. If we went back to week 1 and everything was radically different, I have to admit that I would have had to play a radically different game, because in the end, yeah, Corey and Rhonda were a duo and Karen and I were a duo. And had I not had somebody to do a certain aspect of the game so I could be a bit more, whatever we want to call it, chaotic, whatnot, then I would have had to switch the entire agenda up from the start.
All right, cool. Yeah, I have nothing else to say except congratulations to Megan for avoiding all this mess. You did the right thing getting evicted first. Thank you.
Andrew, can I ask a follow-up to both of the players after that question?
Yes,
No.
let me just quickly say to Hearn, when Megan found out that the Calgary puck that she picked week 1 would have taken her to jury, she was like, oh, thank God I didn't get drawn, because she was so thrilled. Okay, yes, Rai.
It sounds like in that last question from Hearn that a lot of responsibility for Corey being here is being placed on Rhonda, and for Stephen being here is being placed on Karen. Which which of you thinks that your partnership was more essential to you getting here? Was Ron, like, Stephen, do you think that Rhonda was more instrumental to getting Corey here, or was Karen more instrumental to getting you here and Corey vice versa?
Did I go second last? I'll go first. I'm gonna say that I think that Rhonda was more instrumental to Corey being here than me. I won 4 HOHs. I was able to do that based off of my relationship with Karen, absolutely. But at the same time, I put in the work. I realized that one strength that I had in this game is challenge prowess, and I exploited my strengths when I needed to, when it came down to it. I also, when it came down to building that alliance of 4, I had a 57-minute phone call with Rhonda. Rhonda and I talked the strategic prowess out. I always got from Rhonda, even before then, that she had me kind of figured out beforehand. I thought Rhonda was a bigger strategic hand, no disrespect to Corey whatsoever. And I think that Rhonda had more strategy and more kind of strategic prowess in the alliance that we had. And I thought that I made it to the finals here more on my own accord.
Corey?
I'm openly admitting that I openly admit I needed Rhonda in this game. I needed someone not to take with me, but someone that could help. We were constantly bouncing each other ideas off of each other. We both had our own relationships, though. I know I needed Rhonda, and I'm not gonna lie about that. She was instrumental with me getting this far. That being, like I pointed out before, though, I did have my own personal relationships with almost everyone in the house. At one point, I don't know if there's anyone that says they can't say that they didn't have some sort of open talking relationship with me. And the only argument I'll make is when it came to having what they needed information wise, I don't know if Stephen would have that without Karen. But I'll openly admit that I did need Rhonda in this game.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's move on to Rhonda.
This is the fucking worst. Y'all are cunts as far as I'm concerned. So this, I'm already gonna start to cry. I did not expect how the end part of this game was how it first started. And I first want to say, Stephen and Karen, it was an absolute pleasure getting to know you guys the last month. Watching Karen's come up, I don't know what I would have done if I was Corey. And I just am so happy that we got to play this together. Stephen, I noticed all your Tampa stuff is up. That's a poke against Calgary, and that offends me royally. I think, actually, everybody asked kind of the questions I had noted down to ask. So for both Stephen and Corey, I want you to tell me the three things that you found the most fun about playing in the game. As someone who found it miserable most of the time, because I did. Oh God, and I really appreciate, Corey, the fact that you said you would have been fine without me. I wasn't that great, really. I was not that fantastic. But 3 things that were most fun since I found this miserable and misery most of the time.
I'm pretty sure
the last month with Karen, the last month was good. But tell me 3 things, both of you.
I'm pretty sure I said I did need you and not need you, but that's okay. Fun competitions were always fun. Well, minus 2 of them, Clockwork and what was the other one that we all Staircase can suck it. So competitions were always fun. It was always fun to see people people would gear up as soon as there was a competition coming, because I was in a lot of groups, just to see what people were saying and how they were getting ready for an upcoming competition. It was always a lot of fun. Like, it made you anxious playing them. I know Andrea, my wife, like, there was a couple I played on my PC because the computer internet's faster than using my cell phone. And she was a nervous wreck after watching some of them, but they were always fun. Alliances and getting to know people were fun. I had a lot of fun chatting with people. I'm a little bit of an introvert, but for a lot of the times I do well in big social scenes. Like, I don't like being in with a lot of people, but I do well talking with people. And that's one reason why I loved being in the Cheesecake chat so much. I had so much fun in the Cheesecake chat. Everyone posts pictures of their animals. We talk about, Hearn's big ass, or whatever, his dump truck of an ass, as you would say. I absolutely love the Cheesecake chat. So that was another thing. And and then getting to know people. I did not expect to have friendships and bonds coming out of this, because I know how Big Brother works. It's cutthroat. Feelings get hurt. A lot of the time people don't speak to each other after. I know I have a lot of forgiveness to ask after the decision I made today or yesterday. It was not easy, but those are my three things. So competitions, the Cheesecake chat, and just getting to know everyone personally, because I had a lot of fun with everyone.
Should I take the Tampa jersey off to answer this question? No, I'm kidding. So I've always grown up loving the narrative of the game. Obviously, the game is edited in a way that it tells a story. And for me, knowing that I got to be a pivotal part of the story changing at so many different points in the game was an extremely fun experience for me. We talk about, my first HOH and then my nomination and then kind of the alliance that we made in private, like those kind of experiences, those kind of turning points in the game, which kind of shifted the momentum into different favors, was so much fun for me. To know that I had a part in the story is something that I'm going to be proud of no matter what. Secondly, I had fun. I genuinely had fun playing a completely different game to anything I've ever played before. As I said, and I know people aren't going to believe this, but I think Rhonda, Corey, Karen, Brooke, Caitlyn in particular would say, yeah, this makes sense. When I can be social, I can be really social. I can make people laugh. I can make people feel connected. And that's what I did in every single game. And I kind of got in trouble because I made connections like that with everybody. To play a game that was completely outside of the box, to correspond with the time-limited schedule that I had, juggling my jobs and my degree, I got to have fun proving to myself that I could do something completely different and still be memorable, still be an important member of the cast, still be an important member of the season, and still, in the end, make connections. Because the connections that we make during this game, they don't necessarily just end after the game. I'll probably become close to some of the people that I didn't talk to once the game is over, So that'd be two things. The third thing that I would say that was the most fun was I love challenges. I'm going to echo Corey there. I love breaking down challenges and figuring out the optimal strategy on how to win them. I would make spreadsheets. I would make visual aids. I would do all of these different things because I love taking a challenge, dissecting it into its smallest elements, and giving myself the best opportunity to win them. And I hope, taking the record for challenges this season kind of proves that. I had a lot of fun, again, to summarize, I had fun narratively, I had fun breaking down the challenges, and I had fun proving to myself that I didn't just have to play the same game over and over, and that's all I was good for.
Okay, Rhonda, you're good?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Best of luck to the both of you. I love you both.
And last but not least, Karen.
Okay, so congratulations to the both of you. I'm so proud of both of you for being here. And so I have, well, first of all, I just want to address both of you, which is Stephen, not everyone got to see who you really are. And I've known you for a year and a half now, I want to say. Yeah, a year and a half. And you are probably one of the most understanding people I've ever met. You're one of the best listeners. You give so much of your time when someone has a worry and when they have something to celebrate, you also take the time to celebrate with them. And so I am just so thrilled that we got this chance to continue our friendship. I thought I lost you over the summer in terms of you had so much other things to do. So this gave us a chance to keep our friendship going. And so proud of you for managing this and then even dropping a job along the way so you could do more cheesecake. I mean, that's how dedicated you were. You're like, I guess I'm just going to quit this part-time job and just have more fun. And I think that's the other thing is you understood the balance between game and personal, but you took care of yourself too. And I'm really proud of you for that on a personal level. Corey, I mean, we started this together and I was hoping we would end this together. We didn't get to do that, but I think the world of you as a person, and I wish I got a chance to kind of boost your game up a little bit more next to you, but I think that you did really play a clean game. And I want to challenge you both today and hopefully have you showcase or at least prove to me why you think you deserve to win. So Stephen, I think I actually want to give you an opportunity to showcase more of your challenge prowess, but also explain why. I wrote it down here. How did your social game play it, or did your social game and strategic game play into your challenges? Like, how did you leverage whichever way your game through those aspects? Do they overlap? Do they not? Is it just you're a comp beast and that's it? Like, take us through, because I know that part of your game, but I don't know if everyone else does.
Yeah. So for me, it was always trying to figure out how to get one step ahead. And again, making that alliance with Jonathan in the beginning outside of the game helped me inside of the game because I knew how important those cheesecake lists were. And I remember in week 1, I was talking to you and I said, a good strategy to make solid alliances is to offer the cheesecake list. And I think you took that a little bit and you ran with that. And I think at the end, whether they were true or not, we wound up getting all the cheesecake lists between ourselves, which I don't think anybody else could say, because I don't remember giving my cheesecake list to anybody. And I don't know if Joe gave it to anybody, but I know that I promised Joe my vote to stay in return for his cheesecake list, and we got it. And from there, those 2 challenge wins were because of that. I actually was also able to build my alliance with Brooke because of challenges. Again, Jonathan said, think how Andrew thinks. We found where Andrew shops. We learned that Andrew shopped at Sobeys. So we looked up the online retail prices of things at Sobeys, and we figured out that what's in the bag competition. We back engineered everything, and we were able to use that as leverage to get close to Brooke. And I wanted to get close to Brooke, and this was the perfect opportunity by giving her a win to save her and save her power. Also, if we think about it, like all these kind of social aspects and strategic aspects in the challenges increased my odds so that I could win Monopoly, because I wound up getting a ton of the pieces, which kind of led to one thing after another. I was a student of the game, even if people didn't think so, because I took comprehensive notes on everything. I had I had spreadsheet after spreadsheet after spreadsheet after spreadsheet after spreadsheet. I had everything organized. I had everything in place. It helped me in staircase. It helped me in Who Wants to Be a Millionaire because I got out on a question about Africa, by the way. I felt like I was a student of the game. I felt like I was able to play the meta or back engineer, whatever kind of word you want to use it, to improve my game. I was able to use my social game outside of the game, my social game inside of the game to help propel me forward, to allow myself to go on the run, to break records, and to make it to where I am now.
Okay, well, I mean, thank you. I agree and I can say that those are all true. Corey, my question is a challenge, more to challenge you on your social game, because I know obviously a lot of my game was wrapped up in Steven's, and I still struggle to, and I understand the value of his social game and how it worked, and I'm really impressed with him that despite his approach, he got like all of his very close allies who made moves with him outside of me were people he had never met before. And even though you played a very, clean social game, and it left you with positive or maybe neutral, and I don't know if any cases, if it was ever negative, I don't think so, but neutral relationships, your connections outside of Mbop, which Steven also had, Mbop, outside of those, the people that had your back the most were all pre-existing relationships, Amy W. and Rhonda and Megan. Okay, so I want to know what outside of those connections, and I realize, you did work with Andrew at some points, but he, at the point where we kind of came together in our alliance, No Fear, you were already with us, truly with us, and Andrew knew he was alone. And he also had me at that point. Up to that point, he had been working up with me, trying to create an alliance and all that. So I want to know really what is so great about your social game, and how did it advance your game intentionally, the way Stevens was, to get you here and make you the winner?
With my social game, it's personally, I did know some people prior, which I think by now most people know. But I think getting to know people on a personal level is, like I said, I got to know people pretty well personally and not on a game level. And I think a lot of the time, that would make people not see me as someone they wanted to get rid of. Week 2, Andrew said it. Karen, you threw my name out there. Week 2, there is a debate that I should have been gone that week. But I think I made personal relationships enough that people wanted to keep me around. They saw me as this nice guy. Everyone says my game was fairly clean. There is some stuff I did in this game that wasn't clean, and 2 instances in particular, but I can get to that after. But the biggest thing about my social game is just how I got to know people on a personal basis, outside of gameplay, getting to know about their personal life. So their spouses, their, learning about their children, what they do for work, and trying to relate with people. And me relating with people is something I actually struggle with, but I tried my best in this game to relate with people personally. And I just think that building these strong personal relationships is what helped me not be seen as a big enough threat that people wanted to get out.
Okay.
Quick follow-up, Andrew, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Steven, you keep saying over and over and over again, I broke the records comp wins, the comp wins record, I broke the comp wins record, I broke the comp wins record. Could you have gotten to this seat without those comp wins? And for the other side, Corey, you were Mr. Second Place, always being a gentleman and letting the other person finish first. Is that what was it about your inability to win competitions that got you to the finals?
This question seems very pro Corey and anti Steven, but I'm going to answer it as unbiased as possible.
I'm sorry, to put it in context, do you think you could have gotten there without the comp wins? If you didn't have 8 comp wins, would you be sitting here? I think is a fair question, given that you're promoting that as the reason you got there.
It's not the only reason that I got here, but it is a big reason, because at the end of the day, comp wins are power. When you have power in this game, you're able to make decisions that other people can't. You become the juiciest steak in the restaurant. And that's the way that I was able to kind of continue to be relevant in this game, to have people come to me, to have conversations, to have people come to Corey, Rhonda, and Karen because of the way that I was playing. Do I think that I could have made it off of not winning comps? Absolutely not. I would be lying, but at the same time, competitions are an important part of Big Brother and are a strategy within themselves. Now, I think at the end of the day, Corey had a decision to make. And when Corey had the biggest decision to make in the game, despite the comp wins, despite losing that final comp, he still took me in the end. So yeah, I do think so, but at the same time, Corey did bring me despite me breaking the record.
Okay, Corey.
What were you asking about the seconds there, Ryan?
I think the follow-up to that is Steven saying he couldn't get there without all the comp wins. How were you able to get there without the comp wins? I mean, Steven's saying that there's power in the game, and he had a ton of power throughout the game. And I believe Karen and Steven just juggled HOH between them for the back half of the season. So how did you survive without power?
Well, yeah, the seconds were a little what's the word? They really made me question myself in competitions, because it just seemed like I couldn't get over the hump. But being able to stay is, maybe in a part of that, people saw me as not a threat, as not being able to win. I've admitted maybe there was one comp I threw that I've said prior, but I didn't throw any. And later, a lot of the time it had to do with alliances I was in at the time. I was in the Sabres, and while we didn't hold power, I think we only held power once with Rhonda's HOH. While we didn't have power, we had a lot of the numbers to control the vote and talk with everyone to try and get things to move where we wanted it. And then later on, in being so close in Umbop, the loyal in the 4 with Steven and Karen, well, they were winning. I essentially was safe, but while I was safe, it was people didn't know about us. So people were still coming to me, and well, not just me, but I would relay information back that would help us make the decisions of who to put up, who we'd like to go, who's the next biggest threat. So even without winning, I still tried my best to keep myself useful in the game.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Karen, are you good, or anything else?
Just thinking. I mean,
I actually have something to add to Ryan's question.
Yeah, sure.
Because again, I do I holding the power in the game is a strategy, because people did come to me at certain points in the game to try to talk to me. Andrew wanted to work with me at a certain point because I kept holding power. Brooke wanted to make amends with me. Having the ability to have the power in the game, because again, if you have a shotgun in front of you and you need it to survive, you're going to pick it up every single time. And I did every single time. It gave me options, it gave me leverage, and allowed me to kind of pick and choose where I wanted to go. And in the end, I chose to stay loyal to the Alliance of 4.
I actually do have one more follow-up question, and it can be for both of you. So, and Corey, you can go first since Stephen went first last time. Tell me, tell me what you did well during the JoJo competition, the winner's choice.
Well, JoJo's competition was a hard one for me. Knowing how much talk was going on in there while I was at work, drywalling and cheesecake don't match very well. Usually my hands are filthy. I can't get to my phone. I'll have mud all over them. I could be sanding, could be on stilts. So the first thing I did right away is I had a feeling, I think JoJo alluded to it right away about the second places. Going into that comp, I know people get annoyed. Like I know the second places were a joke, and I tried to run with it as much as possible so that when I made that plea to JoJo about me always coming second and having the blue balls and that, the one thing Andrew said was try and make a plea that's, funny, out of the ordinary. And it was the only thing I could think of because I knew I had to get something in right away that people would remember, because I didn't have a lot of time that day to keep with everything else he was giving out. Because by the time, I think I did that at break time. And then by the time I got to lunchtime, there was already 200 and something messages that had already happened in between, if not more. So my strategy was just to throw something out there that I thought would stick and hopefully be memorable and funny enough that people would think about it.
Okay, I have a follow-up to that, which is JoJo was, I also was pretty much gone for the bulk of the time where everyone was talking and JoJo was asking his questions. So, and I came in the evening, and that's when I pulled out all the big guns and answered JoJo's question and showed my game to the jury in case, Caitlyn, in case I didn't get to the end. Yeah. So I'd like to know why you didn't take advantage of that time when you came home and I was blowing up the chat and blowing up people's games. So why didn't you take that opportunity? Were you not around? I think you were around.
Yeah, I tried to be around in the evening. I think this became a situation of, so I think you were the last one to submit. Jonah might have been after, but no one really understood what was going on with that one. So my thing was, and I asked specifically, had anyone given their plea? Because the way I saw it, the two that were going to stick the most were first and last. And so I wanted to get it out right away and just hope for the best. I was around a bit that night. I can't remember for sure. I probably should have said more later that night, but that was my whole strategy. Get it in first and try and make it memorable.
I mean, I love that speech. So
yeah.
If I were, in JoJo's position, I would have loved that. Steven, even though you were not playing in that competition, I feel like you were still really involved in it because you and Caitlyn both had access to JoJo through direct messages. And JoJo had said in Jonah's Extra Whip that it was really close between him picking Caitlyn or him picking me. So what did you do right that made Jonah want to pick me, other than obviously my own merit? But did you have how were you involved? Were you involved in swaying JoJo? What did you do there?
I messaged JoJo. JoJo responded, "I love your videos. You're iconic." And the rest, as they say, kind of became history. I started working with JoJo. I started telling him everything that I was doing in the game. I started telling him about kind of the small little instances that I was looking for in that day, and even asking him to ask things in the chat, to say specific things, which he did, to make people respond and make people blow up each other's games for a couple of reasons. One, it was early on in the relationship with Corey and Rhonda. So if Corey and Rhonda were against kind of the ex-savers at that point, it allowed us to gain their trust even more and say, hey, if they're willing to go to bat with this, which they did at some points, it basically told us, okay, I think they're serious about this. We can trust this. This is finally a place where we can kind of feel comfortable for a bit, I guess, park our car and go to work. Secondly, I pitched him on the idea of the four of us making the final four and saying, wouldn't that be a great narrative story? Wouldn't it be a great narrative story if the two who felt like they were on the bottom of the alliance and the two who were on the out of the alliance came together in secret behind everybody's backs and made it to the end? And he was like, hell yeah. And then third, I basically just told him about the game that I was playing and the game that you were playing and how together in synchronicity, we were able to gain a lot of information in the game, cause a lot of paranoia, cause a lot of chaos, if we want to kind of put it in that way, considering Karen and I were known as Chaos Corner. And essentially pitch JoJo that, hey, this is what Karen and I want to do. We need you to help us do it. He loved what I was doing. He learned very quickly what Karen was doing and loved it. He loved the idea of the narrative of Mbop making the finals. And ultimately, I think that even before, like, with all due respect, JoJo pretty much told me even before the pleas, he had his mind made up.
Okay. Karen is
Yeah,
muted.
that's all I wanted to know is about competitions and how they related to strategy and game. Thank you.
Okay. So you're good, Karen? Okay. So I was planning on giving Curtis, Brazil, Nicole, and Amy the chance to say something if they wanted to, but we've been going on for like an hour and a half plus. But if there's anything that's been on the tip of your tongue, I'll give you like 10 seconds just to say it.
I just want to say thank you for everyone coming on Extra Whip. I think it's the first season everyone did, right?
It is the first season. Yay! Reality Realness could never.
I want
Anyway,
to say my wife is a huge fan of Extra Whip. She loved my wife.
Hey,
She became just enthralled with this. She would steal my phone at times to see what was going on in chats because she was like, there's no Big Brother on right now. This is my Big Brother. So
I just
I
want
asked
to
her-
So enthralled,
I
she
just wanna-
wanted to do a video for Karen's HOH win, for God's sake.
I want to cut in and let you guys know no one took this game as serious as me. I lost my girlfriend over this game. So
Wait, seriously?
Are you
Wait,
serious?
seriously?
I'm dead serious. I'm so serious. Talking to all these females online is a problem for my girl. I'm telling you.
Can we give
She
Andrew
actually broke up with you?
$600 just
Oh
in
yeah, yeah.
I'm
There's
sorry
more.
to
There's
hear
more
that,
to this
man.
story, but
I know you guys have
Can
been
I
together
wait,
for a
wait, wait, wait.
while.
Can I interject and say two things? One, Brazil, my wife also loved watching this game if I had one. And two, I think we should take a minute and a half, 90 seconds, give Andrew the floor so he can make an eHarmony dating video right now.
Well, I don't have to do that. Brazil would hit me up, you know.
oh my God.
oh no.
Oh no, she
Hi.
can't.
Calaby, are you going to be like the James Ryan of cheesecake? Is that what's going to happen now?
It's all fun. It's
Now
all
Brazil
fun.
knows what it feels like to be Jonathan
It's all
last season when
fun.
I kept hitting on him.
But when I made the photosynthesis track,
Count.
my girl calls me up. Oh, who's Karen? And why are you giving her your seed? I'm like, oh shit.
Hey.
Andrew, when I heard that, I couldn't believe you went there. I was dying when I heard it.
It's the culture. It's the rap culture, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
I couldn't get the middle part out where you're like, Caitlyn is pissed, Brooke is so mad, Rhonda is a big old hag or whatever it was. I couldn't get that out of my head because it went together so well.
Okay.
I want to, can I,
Go ahead.
can I,
Yeah.
first of all, Andrew, I want to thank you for allowing me to be here because nobody likes a quitter. I feel like we're not going to go into that. Is it okay if I say something to both of them?
Okay. Yes.
Okay, so for Stephen, it just seems to me like from what I've been sitting here listening to, it's like if you and I were going to get along socially, then that means that I would have had to get along socially with Karen first. So I'm wondering, like, if, like, obviously that wasn't happening, so then that ruined our chances at ever working together because Karen wasn't saying, oh, she wasn't hyping up me. She was hyping up Amethyst. She was hyping up Caitlyn. It felt like she was playing your social game for you. Corey, on the other hand, Rhonda wasn't being social. Sorry, Rhonda, I love you, but like she would be gone for weeks at a time. And Corey was doing his social game on his own. And it was building, and I could see his growth during the game. So I just want to throw that out there. Like, I feel like Corey's social game is getting overlooked. Rhonda wasn't being social for him. It was very much on his own, and he grew tremendously throughout the game. So
I do want to say one thing though, back to that, since they're going to say that, is, I don't know, I was social enough with Steven for 57 minutes. So, I mean, there is the two sides to that. And I do agree that Corey had more of an invisible social game. And I was not the most social. I just ended up, and I think because weirdly enough, like Steven said, we really clicked. And what was supposed to be a 5-minute call turned into a very, very long conversation. And I think the guy's funnier than shit. And I enjoy him. And I think he's a good person, and I think Corey is also a good person. I think they play two very different games. They're two very different people, and they have both good things about both of them. I just wanted to say that.
We're getting a little.
Okay, yeah. That's a good place to end. Sorry, Nicole, what?
I was just saying we're getting like a little.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a good place to end. One last thing before the closing statements that I wanted to do is I've played a crap load of orgs since the last season, way too many. And I want to quickly say that you all were a cast that I would not, as I said preseason, would not have wanted to play against, because you were all fierce warriors and you did very, very well. And even though the season may not be the best season, as I'll reveal on Tuesday, it definitely was one of the fiercest casts that came to play. In addition, one thing that I've seen in orgs, and I want to do this right now with Corey and Steven, it's real quick, and I think some of you who have played knows what's coming. Corey, Steven, I want you to both close your eyes, and I'm going to go through the 7 jurors, and I want you to raise your hand if you think you're getting their vote to win. Okay, Amethyst. Caitlyn. And it has to be a yes or no, not the shaky hand thing. Okay. Andrew. Brooke. Hearn. Rhonda. Karen. Okay. Thank you. And now it's time for your final statements. And Corey, once again, you won the right by winning the last situation to decide who goes first.
I'll go first this time because
Okay.
Steven went first last time.
And this time it's a max of 5 minutes, just so you both know.
Yeah, I don't think I can talk that much. Basically, I never expected to be here. Like I said before, when I started playing, I just wanted to try Big Brother. With my work, I want to apply for Big Brother Canada, but with the way my work is, I probably lose money if I ever got on there than actually make it. You don't really make any money unless you win. I want to say that playing in that final 4 in Umbop with Karen, Steven, and Rhonda was one of the funnest times I've had in my life. You guys are amazing. The decision I had to make at the end literally almost, like, I don't want to say killed me, but if you had to be my wife that day, you would hate me, because I was flip-flopping all day and it literally hurt to make the decision I did. And I only did that because I thought it was the only big move I could make, because I respect Karen's game that much that I think maybe the only person that could have beaten Karen at the end was maybe Andrew, because I know I couldn't have. And I put a lot going into this game as well. I did know some of the alumni. I have a notepad full of notes. Like, this thing's almost full from video notes. And I know Steven said he had spreadsheets. This is just how I remember it better if I'm writing it. on Staircase, we needed my notes. Rhonda had started taking her notes early on and then lost them. So she had created a spreadsheet, sent it to me. She had started some, and then I filled in the rest when I had a chance. That's why when we filled it in, our first guess was 13 and 14, because like my notes, I pretty much had almost the answer to everything in there. It was just putting it together that we failed on. So playing this has been a dream. I've had a lot of fun. I couldn't have gotten here without all of you. I needed all of you at one point to get me a little further, and everyone helped me along the way. You can't play this game alone. It's too hard. And I know JoJo says you can't win alone. I don't know if I'm going to win, but that's definitely true. You need to have relationships in this game. You need to have a social game, and you just need everyone to have your back. Not necessarily everyone, but you need someone to have your back. And my hands aren't as clean as people think they are. The Judy vote, which helped form the bond of the Savers, I had lied to her, and I lied to her face to tell her I had voted for her, and I hated it. I told her the next day that I had voted to. I messaged her and said I had voted her, and I had messaged Andrew, and when Karen asked, I let her know the truth. It wasn't a fun thing to do, nor was the decision to take Stephen over Karen. I just thought it was my best move at the time. And honestly, I just want to say thank you to everyone to playing this with me. I honestly love you all, and that's about it. And I didn't see myself making it here. I'm shocked.
Okay, thank you, Corey and Stephen.
In week 5 and 6, I said 2 things. One, I said, why wouldn't you want to take me to the final? Because I've riled the entire house out. And secondly, I kept echoing what Andrew said in one of his final, his little catchphrases. Good players play where the puck is. Great players play where the puck is going to be. And that is the motto that I adapted for myself this entire game. The reason that I didn't have to play the strong social game, that I will say, if you want to talk about a social game of quantity, Corey has it. For me, it was knowing that Karen had the strong connections. I wanted to keep Karen and I as distinct and separate as possible until it came out that her and I were very close. I let her focus on the social. I did things to help get the information, to help us make the informed decisions to progress further in the game. I was always thinking about what was the next step, what was the next step, what was the next step, not what is the right thing to do for right now. Again, I played a game that is unconventional, and I know we hate this word because of the pandemic, but I'm going to annoy us one more time because that's my gimmick, unprecedented. Everybody came into this game. Some people didn't know the time commitment. I knew the time commitment for a game, and some people struggled with it. Some people got annoyed with it. Some people gave their life to it. And for me, I wanted to prove one thing, not only to myself, but to this cast and to people who play this game in the future. If you love the game, you should have the opportunity to play the game, but you should have the opportunity to play the game on your own terms. I thought outside of the box. I came up with a strategy that people, I'm going to bring up Judy again. Hi, Judy. Said, why is he here? Why is he here? How is he getting away with this? I got away with this for the entire game. I used whatever I could, whatever resource I had to propel myself forward. Challenge wins, if I could do that and I had the confidence to do it, I did it to gain the social capital. I did it to propel me, Karen, Mbop, what Caitlyn, Brooke at certain times forward. I did it to get information. I did it to get people paranoid. I did it to get people turning on each other. I did everything meticulously. My social game and my strategy game weren't only in these small alliances, they were also in the challenge aspect, which is how, again, I broke the record. And I know I sound like a broken record saying I broke the record, but I really want to hit it home that I worked socially and strategically on all of these challenges because I knew they were an important part of the game and one that can't be ignored. I did everything that I could do to put myself in this spot. I felt at certain times in this, with all due respect, that certain people speaking who weren't on the jury were trying to back me in a corner. And I felt like every time I was back in the corner, just like any time in this game, I found a way out. And I'll leave you with this. My journey with Big Brother started when I was 6 years old watching with my mom, and I idolized all of these big, boisterous, bold players. And it ends now. This is my all-stars. This is my moment. If this is my time to shine, I have ascended. I have become everything that I've wanted to be. I've played a game that was, again, unique. And in the end, I think that the winner of this season should be the ambassador of the season, the person who left the mark on this series the most. And confidently, I'm not saying this because I'm arrogant, not saying this because I'm brash, not saying this, whatever. I truly feel like I gave it my all in every aspect. I tried becoming the alum favorite. I tried becoming Andrew's favorite. I tried becoming endearing to my alliances. I did everything that I could do in all aspects of this game to make it to this point. I am here. I have arrived. For me, this is where my final chapter begins, and it ends with your vote.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. So, Corey, Stephen, you have done all you can do at this point to win the $600 cash prize. Now it is in the hands of the 7 jurors who tomorrow, Monday, because this is going to air on Monday, but Monday you will have from the time the episode airs until 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to privately, I'll get to you and Andrew in a second, to privately cast your vote to evict. I will explain in the group chat, very importantly.
Vote to evict or vote to win?
Oh, sorry, vote to win. Sorry.
Let's specify that one more time. You are voting for someone to win.
You are voting for someone to win. I'm just so used to saying evict. And you must.
Yeah, we don't need a what's her name from
Topaz.
CBB Canada, Topaz happening.
We don't need a Salaby.
And you must cast your vote in the format. I vote for blank to win Big Brother Cheesecake 6 hockey sticks. I will post that in the jury chat. And tonight, as in Sunday night, jury, you will be able to chat amongst yourselves in the jury chat if you wish to help you make your decision. And yes, Andrew.
I just want everyone to please unmute their mics and give Andrew a round of applause for doing such a good job in this game. Please. Andrew, you are amazing. You're the best host ever. Super proud of you for what you're doing personally and online.
Thank you so much.
Andrew, can I interrupt as well? Because I want to make sure after being here for 2 hours, I want to make sure I say more than Marcin, who's not here.
So Marcin.
So, I love Marcin. He's a great man, but he's not here. So it's
the rivalry lives on.
Obviously, you run an incredible org here. It's the only org I've ever been a part of, and it's been fun for the last whole pandemic. I will say, and I've said this before, I know you love your traditions, but I really hope that you will cancel the winner's choice forever after this, because I do think it's a pretty nonsense competition that the previous winner just picks the person, whether they know them or like it's like even Stephen or somebody said, JoJo already had pretty much chosen his thing. And I actually don't understand how Stephen was able to talk to JoJo when people weren't allowed to, and that was kind of like a proxy.
It was Caitlyn.
Because I was outgoing HOH.
It was Caitlyn.
But you were tight with Karen, so I could see how that could impact, even though JoJo probably already had his pick. And like Brazil picked me the season before, and she was playing, which I won't even get into the craziness of that being allowed, but fucked over Jeffrey good.
Don't discredit the amount I worked for that, though. I had conversations with JoJo the entire day.
For sure. And I also have issues with alumni being involved as much as they were this season. The vote, I get it was a twist or whatever, but I do think is a bit of a slippery slope to people getting an advantage from talking to alumni more, which in this season it makes sense that was part of it. I'm just not personally a huge fan of, because there's people in the season who don't know alumni or aren't willing to talk to people or whatever.
And that's absolutely true, but you have to play the twist the way it's dealt.
No, and you all did a great job in your own way. I just hate that winner's choice. So I just wanted to say that and hear my voice a little. So thank you.
Okay. I will cancel winner's choice if Corey and Stephen both agree, and I have a feeling one of them is going to shake their head. Oh, wait.
Nah.
Don't do it.
Are you gonna
That's
wait
one of
till
the that's also one of the
11:59?
perks.
Steven,
That's-
11:59. You'll give him your head shake.
That's
Either
also one of
way.
the perks of winning, though, because had you won last season, you would have been thrilled to come back this season. And JoJo had been talking about this for months. Like after he won, like a week later, he's like, "So when is winner's choice? What week is going to be?" Da, da, da. So, like, and I don't think he pre-picked Karen to win that.
I think he did. I think he already came with a preconceived notion of who he was going to vote for, but that's just me.
I felt like the conversations I had with JoJo helped make his decision, along with Karen. But to each their own.
Who wrote a fan fiction for JoJo? Who tweeted
And that's
at
something you took time out of your day to do, so good
Who
job.
started a poetry series that other people try to copy?
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
I
I
don't
heard
think
that.
there's a debate.
Karen put a lot of
Karen,
work.
you
Hey,
did
Jojo.
your research on that one.
Yeah,
There's no
and I
debating
just want to say
like,
that
you
too,
knew.
and maybe that's slightly skewed because, and maybe it is because we had our alliance in, but to be honest, I know how hard Karen works when she puts her mind at something and when she wants something, and I knew. Maybe this was wrong, and now I'm not up. You don't have to vote for me to win or not, so it doesn't matter. This is just about me. I knew that there was no way I was going to be able to put forth the effort that Karen was going to for that and she killed it. And she honestly, like if people weren't in there or paying attention, Karen rocked that. And maybe JoJo, if he did or if he didn't have a preconceived notion, it's not like she sat on her laurels the entire day and just gave one sentence and JoJo just miraculously picked her out of the thin air. I mean,
I know, but I think the point is that he's not unbiased as a person, though. He didn't come in like a complete blank slate. Like if he didn't know anybody, that'd be fine. Like Karen could have worked equally as hard, but she already had like a step up. No matter what you do, you can't break those subconscious biases that you have about a personality that Andrew gives through his episodes and what JoJo sees.
I also just don't want to end the thing with us trashing on Winner's Choice, which is Andrew's competition, by the way. We all know, and yeah, I agree with all your, Curtis, I agree with your points. Karen, I agree with your points. But let's be real. Andrew's game is full of bias. The whole thing is so unconventional. The fact that we have Extra Whip and the current cast can actually watch exit interviews, the fact that we can talk to evicted house guests, the fact like everything about this is like the Wild West. And I think that Winner's Pick is just part of that. If we're gonna axe that, then you gotta axe the exit interviews watched by players. You gotta axe people talking to alumni. You gotta axe talking to evicted players. Like that, you gotta axe asking Andrew questions and being able to predict what kind of competitions are coming up. Like I just feel like this whole game is
the alumni vote, right?
Like upside down world. And that's what I love about Andrew's game. And if you want like a fair game, this is not the game to play. This is not, he is very fair in his rules. When he says a rule, he sticks to it, but the way it's structured, it's unconventional. And that's why this is the most fun game I have ever played and the most fun I've ever had. And that's why I don't really care that I didn't make it to final two, because I had the most amazing time. And Andrew, thank you so much. I've honestly never had a better experience ever.
Yeah, for the record,
we're gonna end on that note.
Everything, so we're all good.
I just want to make sure that JoJo knows he was unfair to me. I want to put that there.
No, we're gonna end on a positive note. We're gonna end on a positive note.
Andrew, when you go to record, just hit rewind. Cut that last 10 seconds out.
With that said, who will win Miss Congeniality? Another unfair bias thing that I do. Find out tomorrow, and the jury will cast their votes for the winners, and I will reveal what is to come in Big Brother Cheesecake 7. And Wednesday is the season finale where Corey or Steven will hoist the Stanley Cup, be the winner of Big Brother Cheesecake 6, and earn the $600 cash prize. I'm Andrew Shevsik. Take care, and we leave you as we eavesdrop on the final two. They're right there. Good night.